Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Johnny G in the morning. On today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is everybody knows about the story. Everyone's seen the show, Making a Murderer, with Stephen Avery on there. And I was told multiple times, you have to watch the show. You have to watch the show. I didn't want to. I didn't want to get sucked into it. I knew it was going to happen. I knew I was going to watch it, and then I'd end up staying up till about 1 in the morning because I heard the episodes are such cliffhangers, and that's pretty much what happened. Is I would stay up till 1 in the morning. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta finish this episode, and then like at the end of it, it's just like, oh, and then this pops up in the next one. I'm like, dude, now I gotta sit and I gotta watch this one. So it's a very interesting story. I know this is years ago, but I recently got back into it. I wanted to kind of see what an update was on the whole Stephen Avery case. And if those of you who have not watched it, I'll just pretty much summarize it in this podcast here. It's a crazy thing that happened in Wisconsin, and I think that's why a lot of people that I know want me to watch it because we're from Wisconsin. So it pretty much started with Stephen Avery, who he was 19 years old. He was arrested back in 1985 for a rape. And he ended up spending 18 years in prison. And then after that, 18 years later, they finally had this DNA testing coming out, and it showed that he was actually innocent. So it starts off kind of explaining the little stories of he had to sit there for 18 years. He was an innocent man. A lot of people wanted him locked up for good. And then when it came out, that it wasn't him that actually did it, a lot of people were welcoming him home, and they had the news there. They were watching him come out, and he just had to say over and over, yeah, I told everyone I wasn't the one that did it, and finally they found the right man, and I'm super happy to be out. And so around 2004, when he got out, he ended up having a lawsuit against Manitowoc County. That's where this took place, in Manitowoc County, Wisconsin, and he was in this battle with them, and I want to say it was probably for about a year or so. And I think he went after him for about $34 million. I could be wrong on that, but I know it was millions of dollars that he was going after him for, which he should. He definitely should have went after him. You took 18 years of this guy's life, and he was innocent the entire time. You guys fucked up. And I think he was entitled. He was entitled to get, some kind of compensation. You can't just take someone's life away like that and then just be like, oh, you know what? Sorry, our bad. Hope you forgive us. That's not how the world really works. So he was in a battle with them for about a year or so. And then around 2005, there was a photographer by the name of Teresa Halbach that went missing. She would take photos for Auto Trader, and it turned out that Stephen Avery was selling a van, and she happened to be the one that was going to come and take pictures of it, and she did. And then I guess she went missing. She went missing that day, and the reason they kind of were looking at Stephen Avery is it kind of turned out that was the last place that her phone pinged on a cell tower. So automatically, Stephen Avery, suspect, right? And around 2007, I believe that's what it was that I read. He ended up going on trial. Him and his nephew Brendan. Now, Brendan is a side player in this entire documentary. It's crazy. Brendan is not the brightest kid ever. He was probably 15 or 16 years old. They actually pulled him in for an interview, and you could tell just by listening to this interrogation, you could tell that this kid, I felt bad for him because it's like, dude, you got two detectives sitting here pretty much coercing. God, I can't fucking talk. They're coercing his entire story. They're trying to say like, oh yeah, who shot her in the head, who did this, and he knew nothing about it. And this is a kid that he wanted to go to class, and then he's like, well, if I leave here, can I go watch wrestling? So this kid had really no idea what was going on during this entire thing, right? So they pretty much taught him, I would say taught, or they convinced him to pretty much say, hey, we know that she was tied on the bed. What happened in that trailer? So he kind of in his mind was just like, all right, if I go along with what these guys are saying, I'm going to be able to leave. I'm going to be able to get out of here. I'm going to go be able to watch my wrestling, or I'm going to be able to go to continue school through that day. He was pretty much going with their story. And the story, I guess, went, she was tied to the bed and they stabbed her multiple times. And at the end of it, all being said and done, it was just the weirdest thing when he's like, hey, can I go watch wrestling? Now they're like, no, you're gonna have to come with us. So they got him to confess that him and his uncle Steven actually killed her in the trailer, and she was tied up to the bed and everything like that. So I want to say Teresa was gone about 2 or 3 days, and they're interviewing the family members, and this is where it gets really interesting, because if you paid attention to her brother and you paid attention to her ex-boyfriend that they talked to, it was something that was really off about those two. Every time they were interviewed, they never made eye contact with anyone, and it looked like they were sad. I never once saw a tear, and it just looked like they were nervous. It was almost like they were nervous on every interview that they did. And I did happen to watch. There was a guy that kind of does like body behavior, and he'll actually watch interviews and kind of see how the person's behaving. And every time he said the same thing. They look down. That looks like you have shame. And it was just the craziest thing watching him kind of go through all of the interviews, and he would stop the video and he would kind of explain, what's happening. And then he would also cut back to Stephen Avery when they're asking Stephen about all this stuff. And he's like, dude, like, how quick is this guy? He's very quick to answer, never tries to put the blame on anybody else. His entire answer was, I don't know. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know why anyone would want to hurt her. She's a good girl. And Stephen Avery was very upfront. He was very quick with his answers. It never looked like he had to think. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's what a serial killer does. A sociopath does that shit. Well, no, not really, because the serial killer, in my mind, I'm not a professional, investigator of anything. I'm not a professional on human behavior or anything, but I have watched a lot of documentaries with serial killers in there, and yes, a lot of them do keep their calm, but they kind of seem like they want to point the finger somewhere else to kind of get everything away from them. So we're going to jump to day 4 of Teresa missing. She was considered a missing person. And the very next day, what happens? Hey, we're going to go check Stephen Avery's home. So they go and search his home, right? Searching the home. And here's the thing. When you watch it, his trailer that he lived in, it's not like it was clean. It's not like it was in mint condition, like he vacuumed, like he would wipe down the counters. No, when you go in there, dude, there's shit everywhere. And then to sit there and say, this is the bed where Teresa was killed. Really? You think that guy, after looking at how his trailer looked, you really think that guy is just going to clean the one spot? I didn't buy it from the get-go. And here's the interesting thing, too, is there was Manitowoc County police officers that were not supposed to be involved in this case at all because of his pending lawsuit against Manitowoc County. They are not supposed to be involved with this case. So after they're searching the home, they don't find anything. They found absolutely nothing. They probably searched the home 5 to 7 times, right? So what happens the last day that they searched the trailer again, which I would probably want to say was the 7th time? Oh, here we go. Magically, we found the key to Teresa's vehicle. You're telling me that the 5 or 6 times before that the police officers were searching, they found nothing. But the second a Manitowoc County police officer who was not supposed to be involved in the case at all of a sudden finds this key in the trailer that was blatantly just sitting there by a desk. You've got to be fucking kidding me. There is absolutely no way that those police officers, unless they're horrible at their job and they don't know how to search a trailer, that made no sense to me. It's like, okay, how in the hell did this key happen to be found when you guys walk through. And of course, behold, that they find out that there is Stephen Avery's blood on this key. How in the hell did that get there that long, or after all those days, and it has his blood on it? Because obviously, if he cleaned the bed because it had her blood on it, you wouldn't think he'd clean the key too. He would definitely clean the key. I mean, yeah, he's not the brightest bulb in the world. They said, he had like a 70 IQ, so he's not the brightest guy in the world. But so you're going to tell me he cleaned the bed but didn't clean the key? No, I'm definitely not buying that. When they're doing their investigation on how they were finding his blood, so there was a very, very interesting thing that happened. Was they went through the evidence of his last conviction that he had of the rape, and they took a blood sample, so that was away in evidence. Well, once again, some crazy shit happening. All of a sudden, that sample that was in like a styrofoam box type thing with a seal on it. So obviously, if someone breaks the seal, you're going to know it's been tampered with. They go through it. Excuse me. They go through it, and the seal's broken. And there's a little pin-size hole on top of the valve that his blood is in. Now, why would there be a pin-size hole, and why was that blood tampered with? And I want to say, when I was watching, I could be wrong too. Anyone who has watched this multiple times and knows the story really, really well, feel free. Tell me I'm wrong. I want to say that they had somebody who signed into the evidence room, and it happened to be, once again, one of the police officers from Manitowoc County that were not supposed to be involved in the case. I don't understand how, when that comes up in court or to a jury, how in the hell is that not questioning in your head of, oh my God, this guy's getting fucking framed? That's literally episode 3. Episode 3, just watching the show. I was like, dude, this guy's getting framed again. That's horse shit. This guy has been in there for 18 years. And for some reason, you guys have a vendetta against him, which I'm assuming is going to be because of the lawsuit that he's got against the county, which still in my mind he is entitled to. It was a crazy turn of events that were happening, and how people can't see that this dude is definitely getting framed. So, of course, trial goes on. They're talking to the police officers. They're talking to the brother. They're talking to the ex-boyfriend, which, once again, you see him on the stand, and it's like, there's something about them that's off. When you watch them doing their search party, for some reason, they were interviewing the ex-boyfriend, and, of course, the brother had to be right next to him. And you can see when someone's trying to have their stories match up, they look at each other quite a bit. They finish each other's sentences, and that's exactly what was happening. You see the ex-boyfriend trying to answer a question, and you see the brother just kind of staring him down like, you better get this right, man. We have to make sure that our stories match up. And then it was like he would fumble over his words, and then the brother would finish the sentence. The ex-boyfriend looks at him and is like, yeah. And he just agrees. So that wasn't fishy to people either. That didn't make any sense to me as to why nobody even wanted to look at the ex-boyfriend, which isn't that like 90% of missing people or murders that happen is that you want to look at the ex-boyfriend or the ex-girlfriend, ex-husband, ex-wife, or even if it is just the wife or the husband, you got to look at those people because they're the ones that are always with them. They're the ones that, if they're going to know where they are the ones to ask because, they're in contact with them all the time. So it was crazy watching them on the stand and then watching some of the police officers that were on there too. There was a police officer, I don't remember his name, but they played a little audio clip of him talking to someone that worked at the dispatch. And the crazy thing is they caught him in a lie. And everyone just kind of turned a blind eye like, oh, that never happened. So he's calling in, for some reason, these plate numbers. And he's talking to the dispatch, and he goes, hey, can you give me, make and model of this, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, yeah, those license plates come up to a missing person, Teresa Halbach. And then he's like, RAV4, right? I told you about a RAV4. And she goes, yep, that's correct. I go, okay, thank you so much. And in the background, it's very, very faint. But I've listened to the audio clip a couple of times, and I want you guys to as well. In the audio clip, you can hear very faint in the background, the car is here. I'm telling you, go check it out. It says the car is here. And how in the hell, why is he calling these plates in the first place if he's not reading them? So right away, the defense asks him, how did you know that license plate belonged to a RAV4? And he goes, oh, I didn't know that. The dispatch told me. Huh, interesting. They play the clip again. Play it back to him. Now he's caught. Oh, I guess I just don't remember how the conversation went. Really, dude? You're a police officer. You should be knowing how the conversation with your dispatch if you're going to be calling in license plates on a vehicle. And then in the background when you hear, the car is here, and we're gonna jump into that too, because that's another very fishy thing that happens. These license plates were getting called in. I want to say it was a day before the vehicle was actually found on the Avery junkyard, which happened to be 40 acres with probably thousands, and I mean thousands of vehicles in there. The lady who found the car happened to get a camera from the ex-boyfriend. Now, she's kind of explaining where she was, where she started, looking through this junkyard of vehicles, the salvage yard. And it just so happens, she starts up here. She's moving her way down. Oh, and for some reason, I just knew I had to head in that direction. I just knew it. It was something in my mind. I had to go head over there. 40-acre junkyard with thousands of vehicles. They found the vehicle within 30 minutes. Now, that to me seems really, really fishy. How in the hell are you going to find it in 30 minutes? And then you listen to the way that she says car. Okay? Listen to the way she says car. That's what you hear in the background of someone saying the car is here. This was all a day ahead of time before they actually announced that they did find the vehicle. So all of a sudden the ex-boyfriend gives her a camera. Out of all the people searching this junkyard, they give her the camera. She's the one that happens to find the vehicle, and she finds it in about 30 minutes. Because she had just a gut feeling. She had a gut feeling that, the vehicle, it's got to be over there. For some reason, I'm being told to go over there. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. That to me is such a fishy thing that happens. So, of course, trial goes on. Here we are. Stephen Avery and Brendan, both found guilty of murder. There was bones, I guess, that were found on Stephen Avery's land with a fire pit. So obviously they said they burnt Teresa Halbach. And it's been a while since I've seen this entire thing. I was kind of doing a little bit of research on it just because I was more curious on the updates of what's going on. Is this guy going to get another appeal? I still, to this day, believe the guy's innocent. And then I started stumbling upon a interview, which I had no idea. Stephen Avery apparently has like 5 kids. So he has twin boys who I want to say was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. They came out and they did an interview. So you got to learn a little bit more background on Stephen Avery. Now, when they would go visit him in prison, they said that they could only visit him for about 3 hours once a month. And within those 3 hours, they said he was always a very angry guy, which, you're in prison for something you probably didn't do. and he spanked him. Apparently, there were some letters going back and forth between him and their mother. She was saying, she was upset with him. She was going to leave him and take the boys. And, they said there was a letter that got sent to her saying, like, if you take my kids away from me, I'm going to fucking kill you. First of all, if you're in prison for murder, that's something you do not say in a letter. And I'm pretty sure that when you're in prison, your letters are gone through before they're even sent out, right? So to me, how did that letter get through? Why was that not released? I don't believe that letter is real. If that letter was real, it would have been on the news, or it would have been brought to the attention while they were doing the documentary. I don't believe there was a letter that he threatened to kill her. Do I think he said stupid shit like, you can't take my fucking boys away from me, you fucking bitch, and, calling her names? That I can believe. The more and more his sons talked about Stephen Avery is, he was an angry guy. I can see that. I can see that, yes, maybe during the documentary, every time he was on camera, he wanted to be the, I'm completely innocent. I've never done anything wrong in my life. I'm just this human being that, everyone should feel sorry for me. I can see him kind of playing that role. So I can wrap my head around, maybe the guy's got some anger issues. Maybe he's just simply an angry person, and sometimes that's just how people are, man. Sometimes that's just the type of person he was, I guess. So the boys were talking about how they felt, when their dad the first time, got taken out of prison because he didn't commit the first crime, and they said they were angry as well. Not so much at Stephen, but they were angry at Manitowoc County. You took their father away for 18 years. These boys had to grow up without a father because you locked him up for something he didn't do. So they said they felt bad. They felt really bad that their father had to go through what he went through. Then they were asked, do you think he did this one? Now, it was interesting watching the interview with them. They both kind of had like this stone cold face of this, like, he was found innocent once before. He does have anger problems. I can't really tell you if I think he did it or not, but I will tell you that I won't put it past him. So that, when you listen to a son talk like that about his father, especially after he's been in prison before and was wrongfully accused, something had to have happened, whether it was in those visits, whether it was in a phone call. Something had to have happened where they saw something snap in their dad. And, maybe he thought after he was out of prison the first time that he was untouchable. Maybe he thought he could, get away with things. Once again, I don't think he's smart enough to kill someone. I never thought that you would. I never even thought he had kids, for starters. And then they kind of jumped off and showed that there was an interview with ex-fiance that you got to see in the documentary as well. She was the one holding his hand, smiling with him, and just having this good old jolly time that her husband, or soon to be husband, whatever, was now out of prison. And she had an interview done with her. Now, this girl, while watching this interview, I didn't believe a word that was coming out of her mouth, because a lot of her answers were, I don't really remember. I was in AA classes. I was in and out of jail. I don't remember. That's what all of her responses were. So as they were talking with her, they were asking about who he was as a person and why you seemed so happy when you were on the documentary, and then you asked them not to use any images of you or any footage of you in the documentary, which they did. They ended up using some anyway. And she said it was all an act. She's like, Steven told me how to act. He told me what to say. He told me how to present myself. Behind the scenes, he was an abusive man, which once again, now you're hearing more about his anger problems, how he's abusive. So that's why, in my mind, I'm wrapping my head around a lot of people are saying this about him. She was talking about how there was a night where he choked her and he shoved her, and the police were called, and they came out and they talked to Steven and talked to her. And in the police report, it stated that there was no physical evidence of her being choked. There was no physical bruising on her chest as like she got pushed. So to me, she sounded like she was either just a drunk or sounded like, maybe she was into some drugs, because everything was so fuzzy to her. When her story was getting questioned on, hey, you said this and now you're saying this, like what's going on? Her story was getting questioned. She got frazzled. Every answer was, oh, I don't know. I don't remember. But I know that this happened. And she also said that he wrote her a threatening letter saying he would kill her. He got away with murder once before and he'll do it again. Guys, I mean, come on. Am I the only one that watches like prison documentaries in this world? I'm pretty sure, and I'm positive almost, they go through the letters, unless they only go through certain prisoner letters. Like if they're gang members, I know, because they're looking to see if they're like sending out these hits or sending out like these orders to people that are still out in the real world. But I'm pretty sure that the officer is going to see that letter and be like, oh, you got away with it once before, huh? That never came up here. So once again, this girl to me just seemed like, I don't know if she just wanted airtime when she didn't in the past, and now for some reason she does. I don't know if she gets any kind of compensation for, coming and doing this interview. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I am almost positive that he did not send a letter out saying that he's killed once before and got away with it and he can do it again. I don't think that is a real thing. I highly doubt that letter was ever sent. So now, after all this is going on, Steven Avery now has a new attorney name of Kathleen Zellner. Now, she is very well known for getting people out of prison who have been wrongfully accused. And I don't remember what the number is. I'm assuming it's probably over 10, maybe in the 20s of people that she's gotten off. And she's a tough cookie, dude. When they had an interview with her, like, she's kind of a badass. She's someone that I would imagine would be very scary to go against in the courthouse. If she's on the opposing side, you better watch out, because she looks like she thoroughly does her job. She does it very well. She sat down with Steven when she was talking to him and was pretty much saying, hey, if I find out you're lying to me, I will make sure you spend the rest of your day in prison. So that means, she means fucking business. And once again, she looks scary. So as she's kind of going through and doing her own investigations, and she got like a 10,000 fucking page big ass binder together of why an appeal should happen, and why Steven Avery should be able to get out, and she's doing all of this work, and she's running through all these scenarios from what happened at the vehicle, and how'd blood get here? How are they saying that the key got there? And she's just whooping ass, right? Going through everything. And I think during this time too, I think Brendan had some new attorneys as well. So one interesting fact that she brought up was Brendan's brother. Don't remember what his name was. Brendan's brother and Brendan's stepdad. For some reason, in Brendan's brother's computer that they found, he was looking up images of dead women bodies. Like, why would he be looking that up? And then they were kind of going on about like cell phone pings and, you know, why the stepfather was here and doing this. And she started pointing the finger at Brendan's brother and the stepdad. Well, right away, Brendan's mom's not having any of that. She's calling Steven up, she's bitching, yelling at him. Why in the hell is your attorney, you know, pointing the finger at my other boy and my husband? Once again, you hear it in Avery's voice. You know, I don't know. I don't know why she's doing that. Maybe she found something. And, you know, why is that stuff on your son's computer? That was a really weird thing, as why he was looking up dead bodies of women. And I think it was like if they were drowned or something like that too. It was a crazy thing of why he'd be looking that up. Sorry, had to light a cigarette because this story is just, it's the most insane thing ever. And once again, if you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend watching it because the twists and turns that it puts you through are fucking crazy. So yeah, it was getting pushed on Brendan's brother and stepdad, and I think I never really thought it was them. I think the entire family is just kind of weird. You know, and even Steven's brothers, both of his brothers, they have sexual assault crimes on them. And, you know, he was interviewed and they asked him, do you think one of your brothers could have done this? And even in the first one, like the whole rape thing. And he goes, no. And he's never pointed the finger at anyone else. His answers were always the same. Now, when Zellner's doing her investigation, like I said, she does it very thorough. She has this big-ass fucking booklet to get an appeal. And the first judge that actually convicted or said, you know, the guilty against Steven and Brendan, first judge, she asked if they can get a different one. Can we get a different judge? For some reason, no. They got the same judge. Like, why? Why can't you give it to a different judge? Why does it have to be that specific a judge? That's something that raised a lot of questions as well, because I have a feeling this judge has already heard this trial. I mean, she heard everything. I don't really see her mind being changed after everything that, you know, she heard the first time, and, you know, whether new evidence came up. And the crazy thing is new evidence did come up. All of a sudden, there was a guy in prison that said he was the one that actually, you know, killed Teresa. And you didn't really hear anything about that either. And I don't know if it's because Zellner didn't want to like release that, or for some reason they just wanted to keep it quiet until something else came of it. Why would a guy just sit there and say that he's the one that committed the murder and then no one says a fucking word about it? That never made sense to me either. So they're still fighting this battle, I guess. Like I said, watch this Making a Murder. It's a very intense, brutal thing to watch, and you almost feel bad. I don't know if it was, you know, how the documentary crew did it, but yeah, you feel really bad for Steven Avery, which you think that maybe the film's just trying to make you feel bad for him. And that's what a lot of people think as well. You know, well, the film's it's on Steven Avery's side. It wants you to feel compassion for him. It wants you to think that he didn't do it, but you all know deep down that he did do it. I don't know. I can't be the one. If I was sitting on that jury panel, I don't know what I would do, to be honest, because there's things that look bad on Steven, and then there's things that, you know, they just raise questions, and they raise more questions, and then it's one of those things of, why do these guys want this guy locked up so bad? How come nobody's looking at this person? Why are you not looking at the brother and the ex-boyfriend? I don't understand that. The whole trial is a mind fuck. Now, when I was trying to see what an update was, here's what I found. The Wisconsin Court of Appeals has submitted on the briefs, which means there is no oral arguments, and apparently it will take months to decide on an appeal. So that's all it said, that was the update. Wisconsin Court of Appeals submitted, it's on the briefs. So a no oral argument. So in my mind, I'm assuming that Zellner had to turn in this fucking 10,000 page pretty much essay again as to why he deserves an appeal. That to me, it seems like they're just kind of struggling, or they're trying to buy time, which makes me feel a little sad, because look at his parents. You know, as a mother, as a father, you're seeing your son that was put in prison for 18 years for something he didn't do, finally got released, and then you lose him again, you know, within 2 years for another murder that could very well be that he didn't do this one either. They've got to be in their 70s, 80s, fuck, probably 90s. They've got to be that old. You know, you look at, they call her Mama Avery. You look at Mama Avery at the documentary, God, she's fucking old. But I'll tell you this, though, that woman, you know, she seems like she has a heart of gold. She seems like someone that just wants her son out of prison for something he probably didn't do. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I didn't really watch it, but I listened to this story, and it sounds like a fucking crazy whirlwind. What do you personally think, Johnny, that should be happening? Well, what I personally think should happen is, this is my opinion. My opinion, no one probably cares what my opinion is, but this is what it is. My opinion on the whole thing. Give him the appeal. I mean, come on. Let's see some more apparently evidence that came up. Let's see what the defense can put against him again after this new evidence has come up. Brendan, let's start with him. Okay? Brendan, let the kid out. I mean, Jesus Christ. The kid was, 16? He's not supposed to be released, I think, when I looked it up, until like 2044 or some shit like that. That kid wouldn't hurt a fly. All right? Kudos for him. He got his GED when he was in prison, so he got to finish his schooling, which kudos. You know, that's a good thing. But let the fucking kid out, man. I don't think he had anything to do with this. He was definitely, when you watch the interrogation, he was definitely pretty much told what to say. He should have had a parent present, or at least a lawyer present. But when you get blindsided like that at school, it's not like, and with his IQ, not like he's going to be like, oh, can I talk to a lawyer? Or I want a lawyer here. No, he wanted to go back to class. He wanted to go home and watch wrestling. You told this kid what to say. Just come on. Everyone that watched that interrogation knows. You told the kid what to say. He was copying the things that you were saying. You locked this kid up. Let him out, man. Just let him out. He had nothing to do with this. Let him go back to his family. And the crazy thing is, too, of how I don't even know how he'd be able to survive in society right now. I mean, I'm assuming he's matured. He's an adult now. I don't know how old he is. He's got to be in his freaking 30s. He's probably older than I am. Maybe. No, just kidding. I don't know. Possibly. But, I mean, let the kid out. It's a Steven's another story. I say, let the appeal happen. Let's go through the process again. Let's see all of the evidence against him. Let's see all the evidence that they did the first time. Let's see the new evidence that came up. And let's do a different judge. Get a different judge involved. I don't know why you need to have the same judge. To me, do I think Steven Avery is an angry human being? I can buy it. I can buy that he's probably not the nicest guy in the world. I can buy that if he knew that his recordings were going to be on the documentary, that of course he's gonna change his tone. Do I think that those letters left the prison of him threatening to kill people or saying that he got away with murder the first time, he'll do it again? No. I don't believe that. Not for a second. Do I believe that there's someone else probably still at large that did do this? Yeah. I mean, they might have gotten caught for other crimes and then just haven't told the whole truth that they were the ones that actually did this. Yeah. Do I believe that the brother and ex-boyfriend still had something to do with it? Goddamn right. I think those guys need to be looked at. I think they need to be investigated. Give them a poly, dude. I've never heard anything of them getting a polygraph. Look at them. Why are they acting so strange? Why do they act like they're ashamed of something? The police officers in Manitowoc County, which I don't even know. I doubt there's still police officers there. They're probably retired. If Steven Avery is found not guilty and shows that he was framed, I think everybody who worked on that case, every police officer, anyone that had collaboration with them, I think they deserve to do as much time as Steven Avery did in prison and be charged life in prison as well. They need to be prosecuted. And if there's still police officers on the force that worked on this case, they need to be fired. Because something doesn't add up. Something really doesn't add up in the whole Steven Avery case or making a murderer. So that's my final thoughts on it. I'm happy you guys stuck around to kind of listen to me ramble on about it. This is something that was a crazy story to watch, crazy to see everything unfold. And I just haven't seen anything on it for a while. So I was very curious as to what is happening with Steven Avery. Very curious to see what's happening with Brendan. From my understandings from this update, that it was a very brief update. I don't know. I hope that maybe sometime this year we'll see something on the news about he does get his appeal. I think it's going to be fucking mayhem if he ends up winning his appeal and he gets put in prison again for something he did not do. And if I was Steven Avery, I'm telling you, if I was Steven and you got out of prison, move the fuck out of Wisconsin. Or at least Manitowoc County. Get the fuck out of here. Go somewhere. Go to a different state. Go to a different country, dude. Like, holy shit. Twice in your lifetime that you were put in prison for something you didn't do. But if he did do it and he's found guilty because there's evidence that just fucking, or he admits it. Let's say that. Let's throw it down that he admitted that he did this. If he did do it, holy shit. You can keep your calm very well you are a crazy son of a bitch, and then you do deserve, to sit in prison for the rest of your life. That's crazy to me. Anyone that does that deserves to be in prison. But in my head, I don't think he did it. I don't think he's the best human being in the world, but I think this guy was framed. I think this guy needs to be released if he's found, innocent. If that guy that talked about in prison said that he was the one that did it, he's taking credit for it, and they have this amazing evidence where it's like, yeah, his DNA was actually there. Let the guy out, because that would suck. In there for 18 years, get to come out because you didn't do it, and then 2 years later, you get framed for another one. It's crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. So thank you guys for listening to me. Just kind of vent a little bit about this whole making a murderer and Stephen Avery thing, and there's an update for you. Stay tuned for, more podcasts coming up. I do have the Streamers in Death one as well. JonnyG in the morning is kind of a different thing where I do solo. Streamers in Depth is where I sit down and talk with other people. I have some great ones coming up. So I hope you guys hang out a little bit and just kind of, watch the whole thing. Watch the video. If you made it this far, you did. So thank you for that. Watch some other ones as well. Tell me what you think. Tell me if there's something that you want me to talk about. I love watching documentaries. I love learning new things. I love anything that has to do with conspiracy theories, aliens, Area 51. Dude, I love it all. I love talking about cult shit. I'm a huge one on cults. I'll do my research, and we can have a discussion about it down below. So thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.